guys. You will not believe the stack of books I had to put out to film this video. I need to get a better tripod set up now that I have a new camera. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby. If you don't already know me, and I love to talk all things personal finance, organization, and lifestyle. And today's video is going to be a little bit different than my normal sort of content. I never have really done a video like this, and I'm not sure why, because it's a huge part of my life. I think I just thought it was a little bit too far out of my niche, but you guys have been requesting something like this, so I think it's time I finally do it. So today's video is going to be how I built a consistent fitness routine and how I've made fitness such a core part of my everyday life. I also will talk about my current fitness routine, how I am planning on working out in 2025. And I'm also going to be discussing my new challenge I'm currently working on. I'm doing a variation of 75 hard right now. So I want to talk you guys through exactly what I'm going to be doing for that challenge. And please let me know if you are interested in more videos around that topic, because I will be happy to do those. But let's start off with a little bit of a backstory on my fitness history, because I am very different today than I used to be. I've done a complete 180 on my health and fitness, and yeah, let's talk about it. I was always the chubby kid. I have been worried about my weight since I can remember. My mom's nickname for me in Spanish was gordita, and that means chubby. So I just was always chubby. I was always thicker, I was always bigger, I was always conscious of my weight, and I really was a lazy person. I used to do dance, but then once I quit dance when I was 12, I didn't translate that into anything else. So I just became completely sedentary. I love food, I've always loved food, and yeah, I just ended up being a chubbier teenager, nothing crazy, nothing like, I wasn't out unhealthy or anything like that. I was always aware of my weight, let's just say that. And I was a very fixed-minded person at this time. I blamed my genetics. I said it was all genetics, it wasn't my fault. I blamed things like I'm not athletic, I'm not good at sports, I'm not good at gym class. I had that sort of mindset at this time, and I just blamed everything outside of myself. I was very like, blame everyone else, it's not my fault. I remember being so lazy that we did a 10-minute walk to go for dinner when we were visiting my grandpa once, and I think I cried because I wanted to get in a cab so badly. Like a 10-minute walk was just like a nightmare. My background is hating fitness. I hated gym class. I would try to get out of it at all times. I hated how it made me feel so inadequate. I hated how, yeah, just pathetic I felt. I was terrible at every single sport under the sun. And so I just decided to hate fitness. So this persisted into university, and I ended up gaining a freshman like 30, I think it was. It was not the 15, it was a 30. And in that summer, after my first year, I decided to get a gym membership. And I was signed up for this gym, and the first day I got there, they were very predatory and basically signed me up for a personal training session. That was like one free session, but like once I was sitting in that session, as an 18-year-old, I felt too uncomfortable to tell them no. So I ended up basically signing up for personal training at this time by total accident. But it was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I worked out with a personal trainer once a week for 12 weeks. So nothing crazy, but he gave me a plan. I would go to the gym myself and follow his plan. And this is the first time that I started lifting weights. Before that, I was like cardio bunny. I did have a little sprint in high school where one of my friends' moms gave us a little workout plan, but I think I did it for like 20 days. Like it was nothing crazy. So after working with this personal trainer, I actually ended up gaining weight, which I was so upset about at the time. I remember thinking like, I put on like 4 pounds. This is awful. But because we tracked metrics, like he tracked all my inches, he tracked all of my cardio. We did like a cardio test, we did like a fitness test. And at the end of those 12 weeks, I was considerably smaller in inches. I had gained muscle mass because they had one of those like cool scales at the gym. And I was like way better at all of the fitness tests and things like that. And people were starting to notice. People commented like, oh my God, you look so good. What are you doing? And this was the first time I really realized that like weightlifting, just because it doesn't burn the most calories. I think in my head, I always thought cardio was the best way to go about things because it burned the most calories. But this is when that sort of changed in my mind. And ever since this day, which was like the summer of 2013, I began lifting weights consistently. And I had eras in this time frame. So this is like 12 years total now that I've been lifting weights. And don't get me wrong, there's been phases where I lift more, there's phases where I lift less, there's been phases where I go lift weights and I'm probably not doing enough to invoke any sort of change physically. But I think that this is the best thing I've ever incorporated into my life because it has given me just so much mental peace and clarity. Honestly, the gym is like where I can go just get all of my frustrations out. It is just a consistent part of my routine now. I don't even have to think about it. It really is completely effortless for me to work out at this point in my life. And I think that over time, that's just gotten easier and easier. And lifting weights and fitness has really become just a core part of my routines and who I am as a person and my identity, being completely honest. I stopped believing that I couldn't get good at anything athletic. This really helped me learn like a more of a growth mindset around anything really. Like this being able to become athletic by just working at something really taught me that I can learn and grow and do anything I set my mind to. So this has been revolutionary for my entire life. I feel so much clearer and level-headed in the morning. I love working out first thing in the day. I feel so much more ready to tackle my day. I feel like I'm a better employee. I feel like I'm a better partner, a better friend, all because of fitness. So I really owe just like my overall happiness and just ability to do life to fitness. I really think it has completely transformed my life. As much as I love weights, I think that there's also a time and place for cardiovascular, and this is something I've learned really recently. So I have been weightlifting for 12 years, but until about 3 years ago, I was cardiovascularly not very fit. I was only lifting weights. I was in the gym lifting weights 5 days a week, and at this point, I'm, 8 years into my fitness journey, and I would still go up a flight of stairs and be winded. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like it doesn't line up. So about 3 years ago, I started wanting to improve my cardiovascular health, especially with my Apple Watch. I really noticed that my VO2 max was below average, which was kind of upsetting considering how often I was in a gym setting. So I started running outside. I think it was like the summer of 2021. If it's 3 years ago. Yeah, so 2022, 2021, around there, I started running outside and I actually fell in love with running. I love the way that running makes me feel. It's the best for like clearing my head, and I just love how something I never thought I could be good at is something that I love so much now. So I actually trained last year for a half marathon, and I did run a half marathon last year, and I actually ran it in a sub 2 hour time. So if I can do it, anyone can. That brings me to today. So currently I am weight training in the gym 3 days a week. I also have an extra day where I do cardio. I do like a 12-3-30 uphill walk on the treadmill, and I do mat Pilates for the other half of that session. So I'm in the gym 4 days a week. And then on the 5th day, I am running. And then I actually sometimes throw in a 6th day of running in as well. So currently I'm kind of hybrid training. I'm doing weights, some Pilates, lots of walking, and then running on top of that. Okay, so the next portion of this video, I want to talk about how to build consistency and habits around fitness. I think that this is the key because motivation is fleeting. I think we've all heard the quote, discipline over motivation when it comes to fitness, but this is so true. Motivation is so fleeting, and honest to God, I think the amount of time I spent being motivated in the year to work out is like 10% of the year. Discipline is what we need to be aiming for. So let's talk a little bit more about discipline. I have some notes on my iPad here, but I feel like discipline has kind of gotten a bad rap in recent years. I feel like discipline is really tied to like hustle culture, and especially as women, I feel like we've been coming to these like realizations that we are overstressing our bodies and we can't handle as much stress. And I think discipline is really tied to this like hustle culture of like pushing yourself too far. And I think that that is like a complete misunderstanding of what discipline really is. Grace Beverly has talked about this in her recent podcast episode. I will leave it in the description box down below. It's a must watch. It was so informative, and I'm going to be taking a lot of her points and just like reiterating them here because it was very valuable. But she mentions how discipline is very tied to men. And I think for women, we've been told that it's toxic. It's equivalent to burnout. It's pushing ourselves too hard. And I feel like that couldn't be further from the truth. Discipline is rooted in habits. It's rooted in daily routines. Discipline is setting intention intentions and then following through with them. One of my favorite quotes from that episode that Grace did was, "There is nothing more harmful to self-worth than setting out to do something and not following through with it." And this is so true. I think that by building a disciplined routine around fitness, you're not only working on yourself physically, but you're actually working at your self-worth, which is almost more valuable, I would argue. Like, having self-worth is the crux of being a productive and healthy and happy person. You have to have self-worth. I would say that the main thing that you can do to start building disciplines is exactly as I said, it's building habits and building routines. Let's talk about habits and routines when it comes to fitness. You do not rise to the levels of your goals, you fail to the levels of your systems. And this is from Atomic Habits. So basically, habits require you to do something effortlessly. Habits are basically the things that you do without even having to think about them. Routines require you to do behavior that leans into discomfort. Some behaviors will never become habit, and this is where routines are so critical because you can still build that same sort of outcome by just building a routine and not so much relying on a habit. Let's talk about how to build a good habit and routine system. Number one is going to be reduce friction. Disciplined people reduce the number of decisions they have to make. We use a little bit of our willpower, our discipline on every single decision we make. So this is why Steve Jobs was always wearing the exact same outfit, is he wanted to reduce his mental bandwidth he was using for his daily outfit, and he could use it for other things. So an example of this could be leaving out your workout clothes the night before. If you have a coffee first thing in the morning, maybe set out all of your coffee stuff. Or if you have like an automatic machine, maybe making it automatic. Maybe have a water bottle filled with water all ready to go. Maybe have your supplements in that water bottle if you're taking creatine or pre-workout or something like that. Have your gym bag packed. Pick a gym that's close to you so you limit the amount of time you have to spend getting there. If you think you're gonna wake up first thing in the morning and walk to the gym, rain or shine, maybe reconsider that. Does it mean maybe getting a parking spot? Is there a gym that's closer? We need to reduce the amount of friction and the amount of things that tell our brains to reconsider that decision. Another tip is to embed a reward system for getting the thing done, especially while you're trying to build the habit. So this is sort of like a dopamine response. We want our brains to get a little hit of dopamine with this habit the same way it would with a bad habit like smoking nicotine. Maybe you want to get some new gym clothes at the beginning so that every single time you get dressed for the gym, you're super excited and you're ready to go. Maybe get yourself a new yoga mat or new gym equipment. Sign up for your favorite classes that are maybe a little bit outside of your price range initially, just to build that habit, to give yourself that dopamine. Maybe also try to get recognition for your efforts. Maybe use the app Strava so that you can get likes from friends and get that sort of dopamine for the workout. This actually works really well for me for running. I love the little dopamine hit I get for uploading a run onto Strava. My next tip is to habit stack. Add working out and fitness into a routine you already have. Do you have a solid morning routine? Could you add working out in there and sort of work your morning routine around a workout class? Perhaps it's like you wake up, you read, you do your normal morning routine, and then you get in 30 minutes of movement. Maybe there is a TV show you watch every evening. Could you walk on the treadmill and watch that TV show instead of sitting on the couch? Maybe you have a typical lunch routine where you just sit and chat with coworkers. Could you maybe sit and chat for 20 minutes and then use the rest of the 20 minutes to go get a little bit of movement in? These are like very easy ways to add fitness into a routine you already have, and this is gonna make it a lot easier because realistically, if you're going from not working out at all and you have to add it in, and it's going to take up more of your time that you didn't used to have to give to working out. And I think the easiest way to resent this is if you have to remove something you already enjoy to get the workout in. It's going to be like a double whammy of negatives. You're going to be removing the thing you enjoy, and then you're also going to be having to work out on top of it. My next tip is don't just plan, execute. Planning actually gives us the same dopamine hit as actually achieving a goal. So don't get stuck in the notion of just continuously making new workout programs or I'm gonna do this and this and this, and then never actually executing on it. You need to follow through with that plan to actually make it a habit, to start that routine with it. Definitely start small. Honestly, as somebody who's been working out for 12 years now, if I could start over, I would go back and do the least amount of effort to elicit change. And basically your body is an adaptive machine. It will adapt to anything. So if you start your fitness with working out 6 days a week, you have nowhere to grow from there. Eventually your body will adapt adapt. Of course, you're probably gonna have really drastic changes at the beginning, but you will have nowhere to grow because you've already maxed yourself out. You're already at your limit. You don't have any extra time to devote to working out unless you're like deciding to become an athlete. There's nowhere to grow from here. So I would start at literally 1 day a week. If you are currently not working out at all, start with 1 day a week. That is enough to elicit change. Or just increase your steps by like 500 steps, 1,000 steps. The smaller the change, as long as there is a change, it will elicit some sort of change in your body, and especially in your mental health, your overall happiness. Doing things slowly, as long as the line is consistently growing, that's all that's important. My next tip is momentum. One of the most powerful things that you can use to your favor is momentum. And by just sticking to something, even for a week or 2 weeks, you are already gonna find that it's so much easier to stick to it because there's this positive feedback cycle. You're already gonna start to feel better. You're going to start to see little minor changes in your mood, your overall well-being, maybe is how productive you are at work. And then eventually you're also going to start seeing physical changes. And these are like the feedback loop of you get this little dopamine hit because you're actually seeing the benefits. Momentum is very, very powerful. So just know that those first couple weeks when you're starting are going to be the hardest. That's when it's going to be the worst. Over time, it's going to get so much easier to just continue going. My next tip is to track your progress with both non-physical and physical metrics. I think that a very important thing to do is to track your progress. And I know that the scale has gotten just such a bad rep. And I definitely don't think that everyone should weigh themselves. I don't think that that's necessarily healthy for everyone. But I think that a tracked goal is a goal that's like better monitored, if that makes sense. For example, if with personal finance, like let's tie that sort of tangent, the equivalent to me of not tracking any sort of fitness would be somebody who just never logs into their account. You have to have some sort of metric for tracking to know how you're improving. Otherwise, you're just sort of going about your day. And like you might see progress, like no doubt, don't get me wrong. I just think that like by tracking, you have a better understanding of where you're currently at. Tracking could be just like getting a fitness tracker. I love both the Apple Watch and the ULTRAHUMAN ring. I will leave a discount code for the ULTRAHUMAN ring down below. This is a overall just like health tracking device. I absolutely love it, but it does have fitness tracking capabilities as well. You also could track things like the inches around your body just to track like how much your size has changed. You could absolutely track your weight. I would recommend a smart scale that also looks at body fat percentage and muscle mass as well, though, if you're gonna do it, just because women especially, like we lose and gain so much water weight, and trust me, like your scale is going to change every single day, but you just want to look at the over time sort of trends. My scale tracks like over time what's going on. Is my muscle mass growing? Is my body fat percentage changing? Things like that. I think that those are very valuable metrics. You could also just take progress photos. You could track things like your mood, how you feel, how productive you are, how your sleep was. These are all other metrics that could be tied to the change in your fitness routine. And I think that these are great ways to track exactly how you're doing and to know where to move on to. And my last tip is just to spice things up. You know, if things feel stale, if you don't want to do things, then spice it up. I think that the best thing you could do for weight training for muscle growth is obviously to stick to a very consistent routine, and that is what I currently do because I'm trying to put on muscle mass. But if you're just trying to build healthy routine around working out, I highly recommend just going with whatever feels good. You know, if it's walking only, that's amazing. You can also change it later. You don't have to pick something now and then do it forever. Like you can consistently change and grow. Try different classes. Try, you know, maybe get a personal trainer. Do what I did and just like learn from the beginning exactly how to do everything correctly. Keep it fun. Keep it enjoyable. This is supposed to be something that's adding to your life and not taking anything away from it. Okay, so this next section is going to be exactly what my current workout routine is. I have been weightlifting for a very long time, and I actually have kind of stepped it back quite a bit. As I mentioned, I was working out 5 days a week, lifting weights in the gym, and that was amazing for like 5 years, but I did really want to just become more athletic overall, and I have decided for the beginning of 2025, at least for the first 8 weeks or so, I am going to be sticking to this current routine with 3 weightlifting days, 1 mat Pilates and cardio day, and then we have running and potentially another run as well. I also try to get as much daily steps in and movement as possible. I'm currently averaging around 13,000 steps a day. This is mainly because I got a walking pad. I also have a discount code with them. I will leave it in the description box down below, but that has completely revolutionized my steps because I was very desk and couch ridden with just like the way I have my 9 to 5 job. And then YouTube is obviously a lot of editing. And I think that's a misconception. I think people think that YouTube is like, you know, you're out vlogging and all of that, but most of YouTube time is spent editing, seated at a desk. The walking pad, it's changed my life. I love it so much. But yes, I'm currently averaging about 13,000 steps. So I'm going to walk you through my workout routine. I'm actually going to pull up my workout schedule here. This is in my Notion page. We're going to look at exactly what my daily workout schedule looks like right now. All right, so this is how I track my weights and reps and everything like that in Notion. So my first day of the week is a leg day. I have 2 main leg days every single week, and my current goals are to grow my glutes only. I don't need any additional quad growth or hamstring growth. I'm very focused on glute growth only. I'm very quad dominant, so I have gained a lot of quad size that I never really intended to. By just focusing on glutes, I still end up getting lots of quad progression there, but yeah, that's just like my goals for my leg days. So right now, my first leg day of the week, I actually only do 4 movements for each leg day, and I'm only doing 3 sets of those movements. And as this moves on, as I'm progressively overloading, which is basically adding on additional stress in the gym so that you can elicit more muscle growth, I will eventually probably add 4 sets to some of these movements, but currently I'm just doing 3 sets of each. So I start with a dumbbell Bulgarian split squat, and I do 3 sets of this. I am doing about 13 reps of this today. Last week it was 12, the week before that was 11. So you can see how I'm constantly trying to add even just 1 rep to every single set, and that should be enough to cause some sort of change in my body. Obviously, if that week I can't do that weight for that many reps, then that's fine. Like, especially it depends on your cycle as a woman. Next, I do RDLs. I do this with 2 dumbbells, and I was doing it with a barbell, but I just wanted to switch it up a little bit. I use cuffs for holding dumbbells and barbells. I just found that my grip strength wasn't strong enough, so that is what I do as my second movement. And then I do cable step ups. So I'm basically stepping up onto a bench with holding the cable machine. I actually just found these out. I used to do this with a dumbbell, and I love the cable variation. Next, I will do cable kickbacks, also 3 sets and about 12 reps. Everything's about 10 to 15 reps currently. Sometimes I will go through like a strength phase where I'll do like 8 reps only. Currently doing 10 to 15 reps on most things. Tuesday is my only upper body workout of the week. I do upper body and cardio. I usually do like 10 to 20 minutes of uphill walking just to warm up. And then I will do my full upper body day. I used to do 2 upper body days, but I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't having fun. I just don't like training upper body that much. I don't have any goals to be like very large up top. So I just want to do enough to make sure that I can get through my leg days, because I'm doing barbell movements on leg days sometimes. I need to make sure my upper body is, you know, remaining. I also do like the amount of back muscles I currently have, so I'm just trying to maintain what I currently have. I hope that makes sense. So I start with military press. So this is like an over the head shoulder press, but I do it with the barbell. I can only do the barbell. This is very hard for me. I can barely do 10. So that's my first move. So I go straight into a barbell row, and I also only do the barbell, no weights added, and that is because I simply just don't want to re-rack the weights when I have to do the military press again. So that's that, and then I go straight into a lat pull down, and then this is where I'm actually going to be pushing a little bit heavier weight. I love supersets on my upper body days. I find that I just get through my sessions a lot quicker. So I usually try to hit different muscles if I'm doing a superset so that I have enough strength to get through both sets at full capacity. I basically don't want to be like tired from the first set so that I can't complete the second one. I then go in with some cable face pulls where I'm like pulling the ropes over my head, and you're trying to target like your upper, it's like your back of your shoulders actually. It's not necessarily your back, but slow sit-ups with a 5-pound dumbbell. So I also include some core into my upper body days as well. So I'm just like slowly sitting up while holding a dumbbell, and I'm trying to like really focus on my core while getting up. Then I do a cable tricep extension. So this is where you're like just extending your arm. I'm gonna try to include some clips of me working out here, but my gym is very busy in the morning, so it's hard for me to film without getting people in it, if you know what I mean. And then after that, I also superset that with a cable shoulder lateral raise where I'm laterally raising my arm. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's end of my upper body day. Wednesday, I do either an indoor or an outdoor run dependent on weather. I usually only do 5K on this day. I might start doing like 6 and 7Ks coming up here. I'm trying to like build back my distance for running again, but always at least a 5K, which is usually around 30 minutes for me. And I also try to hit like around a zone 2 pace. I can't always run at zone 2. Usually I end up in zone 3 just because it's hard to keep my heart rate that low, but I try. I'm not always efficient at it, or effective at it is what I should say. Thursday is my second leg day, my glute day of the week. And on this day, I do CAS glute bridges. So like the hip thrust setup, you're basically just doing a smaller range of movement than a hip thrust. A hip thrust, you're supposed to be dropping the weight all the way down. CAS, you're kind of stopping as soon as your knees start to move inward. So I do that. This is my least favorite movement. I used to love doing hip thrusts, and over time I've just hated it. So I used to do them at the beginning of both leg days of the week, and I just haven't been feeling it. And so you gotta do what works for you, because if I'm not even gonna do my workout properly just simply because I don't want to do my hip thrust, then it's not gonna be an effective movement, you know? But I do still get them in once a week, and trust me, it's my least favorite day. I hate them. So I'm currently trying to get 3 sets of that, 9 to 10 reps. I will probably aim for 10 on this upcoming Thursday. Next is single leg RDLs with a twist. I actually saw these on GABBYCA's channel. She is doing like a little bit of a variation of a single leg RDL where you're just adding a little bit of a twist so that you can target your glute medius. Your glute medius is on the side of your glute. And then I'm doing glute extensions. This is like the back extension machine. These are like hyper extensions, but you're actually like curving your upper body a little bit over, and that way you're targeting your upper glutes instead of your lower back. And I do these actually to failure. I will do 4 sets with a weight. I think I was doing 25 pounds, and then I will do body weight until failure on those. And then I do cable mead. This is actually, it says kickback, but it's not. It's like a clamshell. So I basically have the cable tie around my like mid calf, and I am moving my leg in this sort of motion, like around my body, and that targets the glute medius as well. So that is something I'm trying to build, is like my upper glutes. And with that, you have to target your glute medius. Basically, I'm trying to work different portions of my glutes at this point in my fitness routine. And then Fridays, I'm doing 12-3-30. At the beginning, I actually only did 12-3-20, so 20 minutes. I don't know if you were familiar with 12-3-30, but it's basically 12 incline, 3 speed, for 30 minutes is the original one. It's by Lauren Giraldo, but I alter it. I usually actually put it up maybe a little bit more incline, maybe a little bit more speed, and I usually do a shorter time period. And I also have been doing a 30-minute mat Pilates session. I've been loving Move with Nicole, I think is her name on YouTube. Amazing mat Pilates. I'm completely new to Pilates, so I actually recently realized how bad my core strength is. I thought it was good, it's not. And then on the weekends, I'm either Saturday or Sunday, totally weather dependent, going to go for a long run. This depends on how I'm feeling, how much time I have. Sometimes I skip it altogether. Sometimes I run 10K. Sometimes I just do 5. I'm trying to get in a better habit of at least doing at least 8 kilometers on the weekend. As I've mentioned, I'm trying to build up my running distance again. And then Sunday is usually my active rest day where I'm still hitting my 13,000 steps, but I am resting outside of that. I'm not working out. All right, so now the time has finally come to announce my 75 mid challenge, I think I'm gonna call it. I think 75 mid, because technically it's supposed to be 75 soft if you're not doing all of the rules of 75 hard. And there is technically a 75 soft that has like very specific rules, but I've altered 75 hard to fit with myself a little bit better. So I'm not gonna be doing everything from 75 hard, but it's gonna be close, and that's why I'm calling it 75 mid, because it's not soft, it's mid. So the first rule of 75 hard that I think everyone knows of is you have to do 2 workouts a day. One is supposed to be in the outside, and one it can be wherever, and they're supposed to be 45 minutes each, and they can also be walking. I am going to do the 13,000 steps a day, and then I'm gonna be working out every day. So whether it is even like a 20-minute Pilates workout on the weekend, I think that's fine, but I am trying to move my body in some way or another every single day. It also can be just 2 walks on the weekend. Like that's as fine as well. But I am following the 2 workouts. I'm just getting rid of the outdoors. You're supposed to be drinking a gallon of water a day. That seems ridiculous for my body size. I'm not drinking a gallon of water a day. What I've done is I'm drinking 4 of my Yeti water bottles. I think they're 26 ounces each. So I'm having 4 of those a day is what my water intake is going to be. You have to follow a diet for 75 hard, and it's any diet. You just have to stick to it. So my diet is going to be staying vegan, and And also I'm going to try to get rid of mindless snacking. So I had this really bad cycle going where I was basically dopamine deprived, and I called myself a little dopamine gremlin, where I would get up out of my chair and I would just go looking for something that gives me a quick hit of dopamine, and it was usually food. So I would just like get up and grab like a little snack, a little something. And I was doing this like many times over the course of the day, to the point where those calories were adding up to basically a whole other meal. And it was just not a good habit. I also personally feel better when I am eating a meal and then I'm giving my body that rest time to digest, and then I'm having another meal. Like I like that way better as like an eating schedule. So another one I'm adding on to my diet is no mindless snacking. I can have a snack if I am hungry and I feel hungry. It just needs to be intentional. Like I'm trying to get in my carbs, my protein, and my fats into that meal, that little snack. It's not just like getting up and just having food without even thinking twice about it. Like it was almost mindless that I was doing it. So we're removing the mindless snacking. Next is you're supposed to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. I don't like nonfiction. I don't like nonfiction reading. I'm probably not going to read it. So I said 15 pages of a fiction book or whatever book I enjoy. So that's my alteration there. The next rule is no alcohol. I will be following this. No alcohol. I might give myself like 1 or 2 drinks I'm allowed to have when I am in LA over my little stay in February. It has to be like an experience or like an enjoyable moment or like a very specific cocktail or something like that. I don't want to just like break this for no reason. So I am following the no alcohol for the most part. What was the last rule of 75 hard? I feel like I'm missing one. I can't remember what it is. Oh, progress photo. You're supposed to do a progress photo every single day. I'm not doing this one. I'm not doing it at all. I'm actually just going to get on my smart scale every day instead as a metric of tracking. So we're not doing that one. I actually have added a few things that I want to do because this is a mental toughness challenge. It's a discipline challenge. And I've felt very out of my discipline with certain things. I'm trying to add them in as like part of the challenge every day. So my additional ones are my supplements. My supplements I take for my hair loss especially, I have been so inconsistent with them that I can't know whether or not they're working. So I'm trying to build the consistency so that if I have results, I actually know whether or not they're working and I can either stop them or continue them. They're expensive. I don't really want to just like take them continuously without knowing for sure if they work. I will also be adding my minoxidil in. I've also been pretty bad at being consistent with this, especially in December. So minoxidil is also going to be another one that I'm adding in. I'm also adding meditation because this is another habit that I'm trying to be more consistent with. So that is my 75. I keep calling it 75 soft, 75 mid, whatever. Those are all of my rules for my 75 mid challenge. I'm on day 8 right now and I feel so good. I'm feeling so motivated. I'm so excited to build more discipline and routines around these things. As I mentioned, I'm very disciplined with working out, but I wish I was more disciplined with other little habits in my life. And I feel like this is going to be the perfect reset, just to make sure that I'm being as consistent as I possibly can. So if you guys want to join along on this journey, definitely go ahead and try it. Maybe make the rules a little bit different for yourself. Let me know if this video was helpful at all for you, or if you enjoyed this type of content. I would love to do more fitness related content if people want to see it. Also, let me know if you want to see like a 75 mid day in my life or anything like that. If you want to see how I'm fitting all of these routines into my day. And I love you guys so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.